Hello, everyone. So, yesterday we talked all about how America was going to become an empire of its own, talking about new markets and protectorates and Japan and Hawaii and Spanish American War and all of these kinds of things. So, just in brief, anyway, with that last one. But today we're going to kind of build upon some of these things quite specifically. And I want to take a look here, if you can see up here on the right-hand corner, I want to take a look here at this concept of militaristic imperialism, how America itself uses its military might to make itself a bit more of an empire. So that's the plan anyway. Let's see how well we do, shall we? To help us out with that, we're going to remember that yesterday's lesson was all about the time period that you see here moving around the screen just beneath my big old fat chin, which is 1857, give or take, to 1898. And that's the time where we began to open up Japan. It's where we conquered Hawaii. It's where we gained influence or tried to gain influence in Latin America by establishing protectorates there. And we're gonna pick up here with this year 1898 because it's actually very important when it comes to America building its own empire. Remember that we're looking at Manifest Destiny here. We're looking at building new markets and protectorates to protect them. So I want to take a look by focusing on the other major empire that was in our half of the world that we were contending with, and that's the Spanish Empire. And they had a few colonies around the world, but the colonies they had, we had direct interest in because they're near us. Examples include Puerto Rico, they include Guam, an island in the Pacific that would be good for refueling. It includes the Philippines, and it includes Cuba. So what we want to take a look here at the beginning of this is our relationship with Cuba, and you can see on this slide right here that I've moved to the center that Cuba is a colony of Spain. This relationship we have with Cuba is really very important because we have a ton of money invested in Cuba. We have American businesses there. We have sugar farmers that are there. We know how that worked out for Hawaii based on yesterday's video. We have a lot of industry going there, a lot of mining operations going there. So we have a ton of money invested in Cuba. But we don't own that. And so we're not guaranteed getting that profit back to us. We're not guaranteed at selling those goods there, right? We've got investments there, but we're not able to totally get full control over that market. So what we're going to do here is look for ways to support Cuba. And the Spanish rule of Cuba is brutal. It is absolutely brutal. Very few rights for the Spanish. Poor treatment. Bordering on slavery is what we're talking about here. The kind of treatment that Cubans are seeing at the hands of the Spanish. And this is a very important thing for us because it means that Cuba itself is ripe for rebellion. And when you're looking for militaristic imperialism, you want to be opportunistic. You want to try and find some sort of opportunity that presents itself that you're then able to take advantage of. So here's going to be the opportunity when Cuba rebels in the late 1800s, in the 1890s. And we're going to use something here called yellow journalism, and you can see it up here in the upper right-hand corner. I've got my lightsaber on it. What yellow journalism is about is saying, look, here's this happening in a place that we're interested in, Cuba, where we have a lot of investment. Here's an opportunity for us to use Manifest Destiny and build our empire. And you're going to see the Cubans fight back against Spain, and yellow journalism, this kind of sensationalized reporting that exaggerates what's going on, is going to begin. And people are going to begin to push for American involvement in this war between Cuban rebels and the Spanish Empire. And they want to push for involvement, not just because we have economic interest there, but also because there's it's really actually pretty horrible because there's real terror to the way that the Spanish are treating its Cuban colonialists. This guy, General Valeriano Weyler, gets sent to Cuba, and Weyler becomes known as Weyler the Butcher because he takes those Cubans and throws them over the flames. He cooks them up something fierce. And he begins to take anyone that might be someone who is a rebel, someone who might have ties to the rebels, someone who maybe has a family member that fights for the rebels. He's going to take them out of the farms, he's going to take them out of the fields, and he's going to lock them up so that they're not able to actually support the rebel cause. And he locks them up in something he calls a reconcentration camp. Did you hear that word? Reconcentration. He takes them from where they are concentrated in their villages, towns, and homes, and he reconcentrates them someplace else. A prison. A prison where there's no food, terrible sanitation, a prison where you end up with pictures like those that you see here on the screen. Pictures that you've probably seen before when we take a look at concentration camps in World War II. Hitler didn't come up with this idea first. The Spanish did. And these reconcentration camps are terrible. They lead to mass deaths. In fact, when American politicians go over to these reconcentration camps, they stumble upon grave sites that look like this. Tens of thousands of Cubans are killed, perhaps more. The numbers, it's very foggy. What is important is that this is an atrocity. There's no arguing about it any way at all. Something terrible is going on in Cuba, and it becomes something perfect for yellow journalists to take advantage of. Yellow journalists who want to encourage America involvement in this war between rebels and Cuba. That's going to happen. How it happens is something different, though.